to give us the relevant tips on how he was able to apply, for the graduate school in the US and all. So, Babatunde, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Damilola, for that introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Adewale Babatunde, and I'll be the co-presenter for today. Today, we'll be talking about exploring pathways to graduate school application. And what we'll be doing essentially is to kind of like provide you a walkthrough through the key stages or processes of graduate school application to the US, particularly drawing from our experience. So I'm going to allow Joy Oluchi Amadi to kickstart the presentation. She's going to talk about how to search for graduate programs in the US, and then we'll go on to talk about how to contact members of faculty. So essentially, we are kind of like providing a step-by-step process that is essential for those who plan to apply to graduate schools in the US. So over to you, Joy.
All right. Hello, everyone. So today I'll be talking on the first step to applying to graduate school is searching for graduate programs. Before you search for graduate programs, there are some questions you need to ask yourself. The first question is, why graduate school? You see, some of us today have this Japan mindset. Oh, let me just get to America. I'm fed up with Nigeria. No. That is not the right thing to do. You must be enthusiastic about graduate school. And that is why you need to ask yourself, are you truly interested in graduate school? That is the first question to ask yourself. Then the next question is, do I have the capability to carry on with an MSc program or a PhD program? These degrees are daunting, very rigorous, so it is left to you to decide which position you would apply for. Then the next question is, what are my career plans? You need to have career objectives, you need to have career goals before searching for graduate school or looking out to further your studies. So after asking yourself these questions and you are convinced, then you start looking for information regarding graduate school. The first ways to get this information is by reaching out to previous or current graduate students of your prospective institutions. You see, you can get to them through LinkedIn, you can get to them through other social media platforms, but I encourage LinkedIn, connect with graduate students and ask them questions about that program you're interested in. Another way is attending the Big 10 Graduate School Exposition organized by Purdue University. In this program, you get to meet over 85 institutions. I think for this year, they're going to be doing it 2nd and 3rd of October. So reach out to the school and get more information about this. You get to know about the admission requirements from individual representatives of each school. And again, you can reach out, you can get information by reaching out to faculty members. So after you have concluded on the program you want to go for, now is to find the ideal graduate school that fits your research. You see, before looking out for school, I will encourage that you check the quality of the research facilities. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want to go to an institution where you won't have access to the needed equipment that will make your PhD or MSc program a success. When you know about their quality of research facilities, also know about the type of funding that they give. Some schools give partial and some schools give full funding. I'm very sure everybody is looking for a full funded scholarship. Another thing is looking out for the reputation of the organization, that's the institution and the program. And lastly, checking out the advisor's research interests. Make sure you go for a faculty member whose research you are interested or enthusiastic about. Then you look for where to get detailed information about specific graduate program. You can get this information by visiting the program or website of the school. That's the department you are interested in. You will see the full details about the program, the admission requirements, and lots more. Also, by faculty advertisements on social media. A lot of faculty members advertise research positions and they give criteria to be eligible for that position. And next is the category of the graduate school you want to apply to. There are 3 schools, like I used to classify them, Ivy League schools such as the Stanford, Cornell, MIT, the top ranked schools, and the safe schools. I encourage you to apply to 3 schools, 3 of these schools, to be on the safe side. After getting the program and the school you want to apply to, the next is drafting out a good academic CV. There are 2 types of CV, professional and academic. In this case, for scholarship applicants, you need an academic CV. And this is the recommended format for a good academic CV. You start with your full name, centralized and bolded. Next is your contact details. Include your home address, your email address. Please don't put omotosexy@hotmail.com. Please make sure your email address is professional. Same with your contacts, phone contact number. Make sure it is number that someone can reach you out at any time, any day. The next is education. For this section, you don't include your primary school or secondary school. Just include your BSc, master's, whatever background you have, please include it and let it be in chronological order. That is from the most recent qualification that you have attained to the older ones. Next is research work and teaching experience. You include that. You might want to divide this into 3 subsections, or you leave it like this. Anyone is fine. Please use action verbs. Don't use personal pronouns like I did this. No, say something like social analysis was carried out, such and lots more. Please make sure you use personal action verb in this section. Then the next is your publication, followed by your leadership experience. Then the next is voluntary service activities or experiences, followed by professional affiliations. Any international or local bodies you have, please include those organizations. Then the next is professional certification, followed by awards and honors. Please don't include awards like I was the best food eater. Include only awards and honors related to your academic program, followed by conferences and presentation. And lastly, the skills you have acquired so far. Then tips for good graduate CV, make sure that you proofread it, avoid errors. Also, make sure your font size, the font size being used should be consistent. Keep it simple, you don't need to lie. Be truthful about it.
All right, so I think Joy Amadi was being humble by not first introducing herself. So I'm going to do that introduction for her. So by the way, she finished as the overall best graduating student from Federal University of Lokoja. She completed a bachelor's degree in chemistry, and she'll be proceeding to the University of Delaware in the fall of 2022 to commence PhD towards a chemistry degree, chemistry PhD degree. So and of course, she got over like 7 fully funded PhD offers. So just to put that out there. So quickly, just in line with what she has already said, once you've searched for the graduate program, in your field, and you've identified, certain schools that, their program is structured in such a way that it aligns with your interest, and you've put together your CV and resume, the next thing you want to consider doing is contacting members of staff and faculty at the school. So by contacting staff, we mean you want to look up the graduate program coordinator and send them an email. And the questions in that email will be something like, you want to ask about when they accept applications for that program you're interested in, maybe chemical engineering, PhD or MS. You want to ask whether they accept applications in the fall or spring. You want to ask what that is availability of funding for the program you want to enroll into. Is funding available to master's students? Do they fund only their PhD students? You want to ask about test requirements. Do they accept, is GRE, the graduate records examination, is it a compulsory requirement for those that are applying, into the program, or can it be waived in your own case? Is the TOEFL a fixed requirement, or can it be waived? You want to include that in the email to the graduate program coordinator. You also want to ask if, it is compulsory for you to upload your unofficial transcript or official transcripts during the application process, because most schools require that you upload official transcripts. So we're going to get to a slide where we talk about the process of applying, but just so you know, you want to ask questions about that in the email. And also you want to ask whether admission into the program you're applying into is subject to an interview. Would you be interviewed by the professor you want to work with or by the admissions committee, so that you prepare your mind ahead of time. And also you want to ask if you can be provided an application fee waiver. So Joe will talk about how to get application fee waivers, but this is just by the way. So a typical template of that email is going to be one such that you start by introducing yourself. What is your name? Where are you coming from? You know, you want to say something like, my name is AB, right? I completed my bachelor's degree in this at this university in Nigeria. And you want to then go ahead and, you know, maybe talk about the CGPA you finished with, and then explain your interest briefly. Oh, I'm interested in applying for this mechanical engineering PhD in this school, right? I'm interested in this and this research or something like that. Just very briefly, because this is the graduate program coordinator, so you don't want to bore them with all of your research background and everything. Just talk about your interest. And then you want to outline these questions that is on the left-hand side of the screen, you know, the application cycle, availability of funding, and etc. And then you want to close it warmly. Oh, I look forward to your response. Best regards. And then you sign off. So after you've contacted the graduate program coordinator, asking those questions, and you've been provided some answers, and then you want to consider also contacting the professor or professors that, you know, you're interested in working with at that particular school. And the questions you want to be asking such professors are that, one, are you currently accepting students, right? Or is there any research possibilities, right? Are you considering pushing your research to this particular area, or are you considering working in this particular project, right? You want to also ask them about if they are open to talking to you further. Now, these are the questions that should be in the email, and this is how the template of that email can look like. First, you want to, of course, introduce yourself, just as you did with the graduate program coordinator or any member of staff that you're contacting. And next, with the professor's email, you want to explain your background. I graduated from this university, I studied this, right? This was the CGPA I finished with. And then you want to now go ahead to explain relevant research project that you've conducted that you think that professor might be interested in based on their own research area, right? Oh, I've done this in the past. I worked with this. This was the results, you know, this was what we did, etc. And then you want to discuss the faculty's research because you want to demonstrate that you know what the faculty is doing. Oh, I see that you're working on analyzing this, so that this can be achieved. And then after you discuss the faculty's research, maybe even citing their publications because they really like that, it shows that you really, really enjoy what they are doing. Then you go on to demonstrate your interest that, oh, I see that given what I've done in the past and what you're currently doing, you know, there's an alignment, there's a link between what you're doing and what I've done in the past and what I hope to do in the future. And then you now want to go ahead and outline the questions on the left-hand side here. Oh, are you currently accepting students? Okay, are you considering analyzing this since this is what you say you are doing? And then can we, you know, talk over Zoom, or maybe I'm looking forward to your response, something like that, and then you close warmly. So that's about that. So yeah.
After contacting the faculty members, the next thing is, I know most of us, we are scared of applying to schools abroad, particularly in the US and Canada, but I'm going to be emphasizing this application fee in the US universities. So after contacting faculty members and getting your information, the information you need, the next thing is we're seeking for application fee waivers. Yeah, I did that during my own time. Now, how do I get my application fee waived? I know a lot of students are discouraged because of the the increase in dollar rates. So a lot of people just feel like to apply to schools in Nigeria. We all know what the strike is talking about. So the thing is, I'll teach you on how to get application fee waiver. Number one, you need to attend webinars in your prospective school or potential schools. Reach out to those schools, ask the graduate coordinator of those schools or School of Graduate Studies, email them to ask for application fee waivers. Don't be scared. Questions, you need to get information about these waivers. You never can tell. Participate in graduate school fair. Like I said, the big 10+ is a very good opportunity for you to meet with the individual representative of different schools. Ask them for waivers. I got a lot of waivers through that process. They will give to you for the fact that you have attended that program. They will give you. Attend Open Day House. They do it a lot. When you attend, they will give you waivers. You don't need to pay for these applications. And again, there are some departments, like my department, chemistry, that don't even collect application fee. Yes, it is free of charge. And it varies. Each institution have their own policy. So there are some schools that don't collect from chemistry. Next slide, please. Now, how do I get information about school events that qualify one for a fee waiver? Like I said earlier, you can visit your department's websites. Make sure you visit it often, frequently, to get updated information. You will even see link to register for such events. You can register ahead of time. If you are not clear with the information on that website, you can email the coordinators. You will always see their emails there. You can email them to ask questions. Also, you can reach out to graduate students through LinkedIn, Twitter, and all that to ask about events in their schools that might qualify one for a waiver. Now, document to submit when emailing schools for application fee waiver. I encourage you to submit your graduate school CV when you want to request for a waiver. Also submit your transcripts, BSc, master's transcripts. Now, financial statements of account is optional, although some schools want you to provide financial statements of account. You can give them the latest 3 months statements. Also write a financial statements essay. This worked for me as I was able to collect or receive 15 waivers from the institutions in the United States. I was able to convince them on why they should give me this application fee waiver code. If you have good GRE and English test scores, please email it along with the other documents.
Now, about graduate school standardized tests. So earlier I spoke about asking the graduate programs coordinator if it is required for you to submit your GRE or a TOEFL test score. So essentially, there are 2 types of aptitude tests, majorly used in graduate school application. There is what we call the GRE, Graduate Records Examination, and then the GMAT, Graduate Management Admissions Test, right? And they are distinct in this following regard. So for the GRE, it is typically used to assess the aptitude of a candidate to embark upon a master's degree or a PhD degree or MBA in some cases, while the GMAT is essentially just for those who intend to go to business school to get an MBA, right? And the GRE costs $205 to take, while the GMAT costs $250 to take. The GRE consists of quantitative reasoning section, verbal reasoning section, and analytical writing section, while the GMAT comprises of the quantitative reasoning section, the verbal reasoning section, the analytical writing section, and another section called the integrated reasoning section. Now, the GRE is scored in this following way. For the quantitative reasoning and the verbal reasoning, you are graded on the scale of 130 to 170. So that's like their normal 0 to, like 40, right? But then they don't give 0 scores. So when you get a 130 on the quantitative reasoning section, just know you've scored a 0. And if you get a 170 on the quantitative reasoning section, know that you scored everything on that section. So, but for the GMAT, it's 6 to 51 for the quantitative reasoning section and the verbal reasoning section. And for the GRE, for the analytical writing section, you are scored between 0 to 6 in increments of 0.5. So you can get 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, and so on. Whereas for the analytical writing, it's 0 to 6. For the GMAT, rather, the analytical writing is called 0 to 6, and then the integrated reasoning section is called from 1 to 8. Now, there is another type of standardized test, which I mentioned earlier, such as the TOEFL. So they call them proficiency tests because they do not test your aptitude for graduate school. They just check for they test for your language proficiency. How well can you speak the English language? So, and there are 3 of them that are commonly used: the TOEFL, the IELTS, and the Duolingo test more recently. So how are they different? The TOEFL, right, costs $285, while the IELTS about $225 or maybe $83,000 in Nigeria. and Duolingo is the cheapest, just costs about $49, right? And all of them have essentially the same sections: listening, reading, speaking, and writing, right? But they are scored differently. The TOEFL scores you within the range of 0 to 30 for each of the sections, whereas the IELTS scores you 1 to 9 for each of the section. So the Duolingo scores you 10 to 160 for the entire test. So what happens in TOEFL is that they add up your scores for all the sections and just give you your total score out of 120. That's 30 times 4. The IELTS gives you 1 to 9 for each of the section and then averages everything at the end of the day, so that your score is still going to be on the scale of 1 to 9 or 0 to 9. And the Duolingo, like I said, you either get 10 for everything or 160 for everything. So now the TOEFL is accepted by all schools in the US. There's no exception. The IELTS is accepted by all schools in the UK and some schools in the US. So some schools in the US will say, oh, we also accept the IELTS. That's why you need to ask if, you know, the TOEFL is necessary if you already have an IELTS. And the Duolingo is accepted by some schools in the US, not all. All right. So how do you prepare to ace your standardized test, right? Because people usually find challenges or have challenges, you know, acing this test. So I'll suggest that you draft a study plan. When you plan, if you intend to take this test, if it's required by your program, draft a study plan. This is what I'm going to do over this certain period of time, right? I'm going to start with the GRE, and I'm going to start reading for quantitative reasoning, for verbal reasoning, for analytical writing. Have a plan. Next, start preparing early. If you intend to, say, start applying for the fall of next year, you need to give yourself some time to first write the standardized tests, right? So that it would not overlap into the time when you ought to be submitting your application, okay? So once you've done that, you want to take sample tests. So it's recommended to take a diagnostic test when you want to begin to practice for this test, which is just to know your current level of proficiency, so that you'll be able to now say, oh, I am weak in this area, then I need to do better in this area. Or my speaking skills are poor, or my listening skills are poor, or my maths is poor. Okay, this is what I need to focus on. This is what I need to do. Then you want to practice consistently. So, you know, since you've drafted your study plan, you want to be consistent with that plan. You don't want to stop practicing in between and then come back later. It will affect, you know, your competency. And then you want to read widely during this period. You want to read, if you're an engineering person or you have a background in the arts, you want to read beyond, you know, your expertise, because some of the questions that you'll be asked on this test require that you draw from, you know, a wide range of knowledge. So you want to read widely. And lastly, you need to look for a group of people, right, that are practicing or that are preparing to take that same test. It helps a lot. I mean, it's fine if you're the kind of person that can prepare for it alone, but it helps when you have a group of people that you are practicing with. Now, about graduate school application essays. So after you've taken your test, you know what you've scored. Most of these graduate schools require that you write an essay and you submit as part of your application documents. So there is what we call the statement of purpose, and there's also what is called the personal statement. So how are they distinct? For the statement of purpose, yeah, it's kind of like credential backed, right? You're kind of saying, oh, because I have this background, then that is why, you know, I think that this program is going to be an advancement of, you know, my career. Whereas for the personal statement, you're saying, oh, this has been my experience, okay, in life. And so this looks like the next stop for me, or the next point in my life's journey. Okay, so the statement of purpose has like a professional tone to it, right? You're writing as though you're writing a cover letter in a way. Whereas the personal statement has a reflective tone to it. You know, you're kind of like thinking about, oh, these are the choices I've made, these are the things that have happened to me, and you know, this is why I've made the decisions that I've made, right? And lastly, the statement of purpose has a concrete statement of graduate school interest. Like, you are very sure that, oh, this is what I want to do in grad school. Or you are making it seem like you're very sure, but you want to at least sound very certain that, oh, I want to do research in this area, I want to do this in this day, and that. Whereas for the personal statement, you can be flexible about making such statements. You want to say, oh, okay, because of all these things, I think that, okay, doing this is going to be, a boost to my career and all of that. And what about tips for writing these essays? Because us talking about their differences is not enough, So how do you go about writing a statement of purpose and a personal statement? So my suggestion is, for the statement of purpose, you want to answer questions like this, such as, why do you think that graduate school is what is good for you, and why now? Like, why are you considering graduate school, and why is it that at this point of your life, is the right time for you to embark on graduate studies? You also want to answer questions like, what has prepared you for graduate school, right? What background do you have? Have you done research in the past, or have you done some academic stuff in the past that has prepared you for graduate school? And what you want to do in graduate school? Do you want to do research, or do you want to do some projects? What exactly do you want to do? And also, why are you choosing that school that you're choosing? Right? Why MIT? Why Stanford? And as the case may be. And also, you want to also talk about what your future goals are, what you intend to do with a degree when you get it, and long-term and short-term goals. So for the personal statement, like we said, it's kind of more reflective. So you want to talk about how you arrived at that point where you are deciding to go for graduate studies, and what your personal or non-academic experience has been, and how these experiences have shaped your journey and your interest. So this is not to say that you should not talk about what you want to do in graduate school. It's just to tell you that you have to put a blend of all these things in your essay. And yeah, so because Nigerians or people of other nationalities are applying to schools in the US, and the educational system in these other countries are quite different from that in the US, and so are the grading systems in these other countries. They have what they call transcript evaluation services that help to convert your system of education, or the grades that you get from your own, educational institutions, into the US grading system. And such transcript evaluation services are World Education Services and the ECE, Educational Credential Evaluators, right? So this is just to show you how the final product looks like when you've converted it. Let's go on. Let's talk about how you go about, getting your transcripts evaluated. So let's say you finish from the University of Lagos or University of Ibadan, and you want to convert your CGPA, your results, and everything that is on it. Let's say for University of Lagos is over 5.0, for University of Ibadan is over 7.0, but the US uses 4.0. So if you want to use the World Education Services, you create an account on their website, right? You submit an application that you want to get a report, and they'll give you a reference number. Then you go to the section where they have document requirements for different nationalities. So as a Nigerian, your document requirements are different, right? And then after your credentials have been verified, because based on what your document requirements are, they might ask you that, oh, you have to submit your Nigerian transcripts as well as your Nigerian diploma certificates, whichever. After you've submitted those things and they've been verified, they'll help you to do the translation, and your report is ready, and then they'll submit it to the schools that you want it to be submitted to. They won't give it to you. So the process is similar for that of ECE, right? But ECE makes the transcript available to you, right? As well as the institution, but WES will not, except in rare cases.
Right, so after writing or drafting your SOP, personal statements, whichever one, and doing your transcripts evaluation, the next step is getting strong letters of recommendation. This is a very pivotal part of your graduate school application. These recommendation letters, they are official letters that speaks strongly about you and your capability. So in getting a good letter of recommendation, you need materials or documents like your CV or resume, transcripts, and sometimes your recommenders might even ask you to draft it yourself and present it to them for editing. So you might want to draft out a nice letter of recommendation and give it to your professors to look through and correct whichever thing they need to correct on it. So these are the 3 materials you submit to your recommenders to help them get more information about you and give you that strong letter of recommendation that you need. And the next is whom to ask for letter of recommendation. I encourage students to look for 5 to 7. If you can even get more recommenders, that is fine. This is in order not to be disappointed. Like for me, then I had up to 8 recommenders. So the thing I do is, after using some of the recommender, because in the United States, you are meant to submit 3 letters of recommendation for a PhD program and 2 letters of recommendations for an MSc program. So after using some certain numbers of professors for that recommendation, not everyone is kind of patient. They might disappoint you at the end of the day. So it is better you also bring in the new recommenders to recommend you. This will also help not to inconvenience anyone. So try to do rotation, rotate your recommenders. You can reach out to your professors or lecturers that taught you during your undergraduate studies or presently teaching you. You can also reach out to your research advisors that took you through your undergraduate thesis, or if you are currently working in a research lab, that's fine. You can reach out to your research advisors. Also, you can reach out to research collaborators, people you do research together with. They can help recommend you. Yeah, and also you can reach out to your current or previous employers. They can be of help when drafting out a good recommendation letter. The content of a strong letter of recommendation, in order to make it look official and like giving the letter kind of a quality, it is good you present it on a letterheaded paper. Yeah, and also the recommender should be able to tell these program coordinators that, look, I've known this person for so number of years, and I did this research with this person. These are the things we did together. The person should be able to talk about your academic prowess. And if there was a time you passed through any personal health or academic challenges and you overcame that problem. So the person should be able to describe these things. Don't just tell, you show it. For example, Folashade is a very hardworking and intentional student. How? During the vacation or school, the time everybody went for holiday, she stayed back to assist me with reviewing research papers and all that. These are ways to tell the educational programs that, oh, Folashade is actually intentional. She's very diligent. You don't just tell, you show it. Yes, that's it. Another thing is waiving your rights to submit. That is any letter of recommendation that has been submitted. They will ask you first that, do you want to waive your rights to access this report or not? Now, I will advise that you waive your rights. This tells the educational programs that you are very, very confident of what your recommenders have written about you. And this also tells them that, hey, this recommender actually trusts these students and can vouch for these students. But whereby you start telling them that I do not want to waive my rights, it looks suspicious. And mind you, even though you tell them that you don't want to waive your rights, you are not going to access that letter of recommendation. Maybe that will be after your first year when you've been granted admission, and maybe you've done your exam after your first semester. Then they will have to show you, oh, this is what your recommender actually wrote about you. So what's the essence of not waiving your rights? Just waive it. So that's for the benefit of doubt, to make this educational program know that, yeah, this recommender can actually vouch for me.
So now, filling your graduate school application. So there are some steps that are to be followed if you want to, fill and submit a graduate school application. First, you'd have to create an account. So when you get to the program's website, there's typically an apply button that you'd find somewhere around the page. When you click on that button, it leads you to a place where you'll be asked to create an account. So after you've created an account and you verified the accounts via the verification link they'll send to your email, you would have to fill in some details about your bio data, your educational background, your professional experience, and, literally a lot of things about you that talks about who you are, what you've done before, and sometimes what you even want to do in grad schools, in the grad school. And then they'll ask you to upload some documents like your unofficial transcripts. So I might ask you to upload a copy of your GRE scores, your TOEFL scores, and your resume or CV, as the case may be. You'll be asked to make those uploads, and then you'll be asked to list your recommenders or your referees, and put in their email addresses so that they can send them a link with which they will use to upload your letters of recommendation. And once you've done that, that's usually the last step, and then you can click on something that verifies that, oh, all of the information you've provided is correct and true. Then you now submit, and maybe you'll be taken to a page where you have to pay the application fee, or if you've been provided the fee waiver, you just submit like that. So the steps are really straightforward. There are no complexities to it. So let's say you've been reached out to by a faculty, or maybe by the program that you applied to, and you've been requested to come for an interview. How do you prepare for such interview? So in some cases, just like I mentioned earlier, it might be a professor that will reach out to you and say, oh, hey, when are you free for an interview? It might be the graduate program coordinator that will say, oh, you've been invited for an interview. In both cases, how do you prepare for such? So first, you want to review your application documents. What are the things that you uploaded, right, that you submitted during the application stage? Your resume, your essays, your transcripts, all of them, you want to review everything. And after that, you want to read and summarize faculty publications. So if you stated that, oh, you're interested in working with 2 professors, you want to check out their works, at least maybe 1 or 2 for each of them. And you want to summarize that, okay, in this publication, this was what this person proposed, this was what they did and that, or this is what this person's research is about, this is what this one's research is about. Or you want to read about the program in general, because you will be asked to speak about why you're interested in that program in most cases. And you want to look neat and groomed. You don't want to look shabby, you want to look professional. And during that interview, you want to be authentic, right? When they ask you to speak about yourself and the things you've done and your ambition or your aspirations, you want to not exaggerate. Okay, you want to say things as they are. You don't want to fake an accent. You want to speak as naturally as you can. And then at the end of the interview, they might ask you, oh, do you have any questions for us? So always have questions to ask them, right? Don't just say, oh, no, that's fine. Ask them, tell them that, oh, okay. If it's a professor, you can ask him, oh, who funds the project in your lab? Or are students in your lab open to collaborating with other professors in other labs? Just ask them questions to get them engaged and let them know that you're really interested in coming into the program.
All right, so I'll be sharing tips on how to be successful in your graduate school application. Number 1, I would advise that you create an Excel sheet. There you can provide space for list of universities, the faculty or advisors you're interested in, and the type of research that they do. Also create space for types of funding. Is it full? Is it partial? Please, you have to create space for that. Also, you need to know the application start and end dates. There should be space provided for that as well. And also, if a school gives you application fee waiver code, you have to provide space for that. Is this application fee free or paid one? You need to provide space for that. So after you've done that, you can now start filling those vacuum. It will help you know the schools you need to apply to, the schools you need to start applying to on time, because it is like this. You have to apply to schools that we close application first, you understand? I know this thing is daunting, it is very rigorous. For example, if a school is going to end application by November I'm very sure you want to start with that school before reaching out to schools that will end application in the next year, maybe in 2023 January. So this helps and keeps you on track. To try and do this, you will not be on the wrong side, or you will not be misled. You will not be confused about deadlines. That was what I did, and it's really helped me. Also, reach out to faculty members very early. If you have not started reaching out to faculty members, please start now. Please start now. A lot of faculty members, they have grants. They are currently accepting students. And I tell you, when you have a supervisor, it is almost 99% that you will get in, especially if the supervisor is really enthusiastic about having you in his or her lab. So reach out to supervisors and try to apply very early. Don't wait until that very day that they will close the application. No, some schools, they start reviewing immediately you submit, they start reviewing. And by the time there is no more space, that's why a lot of people don't get this scholarship. It's not as if you are not competitive enough to get it. It's because you didn't apply on time, and the limited space have already been occupied, they've already been taken. So please apply on time so that you will not hear a story that touches the heart. Also, ensure that you draft SOP and CVs for individual research. Don't use the same CV that you want to use for chemistry to apply for chemical engineering. Any research you see and you are interested in, please make sure you draft a CV that aligns to those research. Same thing for SOP. Don't use generic CV and SOP. This may not allow you stand out, and you may lose the admission opportunity. And I want to encourage you to learn from rejections. If you were rejected by a particular school, don't feel bad. You can always ask them why. I know most schools might not want to tell you, but you might go back to your application to see where you didn't do things right, and try to correct yourself. And make friends, make connections with graduate students to give you information about faculty members who are accepting research students. This will also be of help. So the main thing here is time. Be conscious about time. Make sure you do things early. As you lay your bed, you lie on it. So delay is not denial. I don't want you to feel bad or rejected about anything. Just be focused and intentional in all that you do. And the sky will be your starting points. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for all those, Joy. I won't be adding anything because you said pretty much everything. So thank you everyone for listening. We'll take your questions now.
Someone is asking what materials or platform are suitable for sample test. So what do you mean by sample test? Are they talking about the GRE, the TOEFL? So I'm not sure what is meant by sample tests.
Okay, so I think when I was explaining that, I mentioned things like some tests, like diagnostic tests to check for your current level of proficiency. So depending on which standardized test you are considering, let's say, for instance, the GRE, the makers of the test, ETS, when you sign up on the platform and create an account, they offer you 2, free sample practice tests, right? It's available for you to take, just to check how you perform on the actual test. So there are actual websites for you to take, a sample practice test. One is the ETS. They also have some other test preparation companies like Princeton Review, Kaplan, Magoosh, right? So you can also take sample practice tests on those platforms. So there are also paper-based, practice tests. When you get the official guide to the GRE made by ETS, you also find some sample questions that you can practice with. If you buy or if you also maybe find the Princeton Review preparatory material, there are also like sample practice tests for you to take. So yeah, those are the sites that you can check out. I'm going to type it in the chat box. And those companies also have like actual materials like PDF or hard copies that you can also find practice tests within.
So one is asking, must one be admitted before being able to apply for scholarships?
All right, let me answer that question. For scholarships in the United States, you don't need to apply for scholarships after being admitted. That was why I said you need to look for schools that offer full funding or partial funding. It depends on you. But a lot of people prefer to go for full funding. So once you are admitted, you will be given full funding as well. That is how it works in the United States. Then if you want to apply for extra scholarship like fellowships and all that, fine, no problem. But most schools in the United States, once they give you admission, it comes with fully funded offer. So you don't need to be admitted first before applying for scholarships. There are some cases you might want to apply for scholarship after being admitted. That's why you need to be very careful if you are applying to schools. Check out for schools that will offer you fully funded offers when you get admitted. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joy, for the detailed answer. You know, I should also say that, you know, that is why it is important that you apply before the priority deadline. Or for most schools, when you apply before the priority deadline, you are considered for funding automatically. You know, if it is a PhD or master's, as the case may be, but I know for PhD. So if you are able to apply before the priority deadline, so the priority deadline is when, you know, they consider people that apply before that date, you know, for funding. So you want to make sure that you're applying before the priority deadline and not the normal deadline. When you apply before the normal deadline, it's possible that they still consider you if there's funding left, but you know, you don't want to be in that category. So you want to make sure that you apply before the priority deadlines and you'll be considered for funding. Yeah. So another question says, can I send mails to professors when I don't have my transcripts and there's no way I can get it now due to the current strike?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, Adewale, do you want to say anything?
Okay, I wanted to take a question. So,
Okay.
Yes, you can. In fact, it's not really like common practice for you to send your transcripts because as long as you've completed your program or maybe you're in your penultimate year, it's not compulsory to attach your transcript while meeting the professor. But if you have it, you should. So attaching the transcript is just to further validate what you said, you know, your CGPA is, and as well as to show the professor that you've taken some courses that are relevant to the program that you plan to apply to. So it's not like the professor is the one that is going to evaluate, or by that email, the professor will evaluate your chances of getting admitted. It's just for you to, you know, to add some credibility to the things that you've put on your resume or to whatever thing you've added in your email to the professor. But maybe Joy wants to add something to what I just said.
Yes. The truth is, yes, fine. CGPA is very important, but let me tell you the truth. Most professors are looking for students who have a lot of research experience. I'm telling you the truth. You don't need to attach your CV. Okay, let's say for instance, you have up to 20 publications. I'm telling you, you will see a lot of supervisors looking for you. Try to work on yourself, try to gather research experience, work experience that is related to what you want to apply for. That is what matters. Be able to show that, hey, I have this research capability to carry out, I have this potential to carry out research in your laboratory. That's what the professors are looking for. Some professors even prefer to take a 2-1 student that have a lot of research experience compared to someone that graduated with a 5.0 without research experience. So try to work on your research work and publish as many research work that you can publish. That's just it.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, you know, for that input, Joy. I also want to say something, you know, as I said, how we can build our profile. You know, right now, you know, there is ASU strike in Nigeria. I feel one way in which the current students can, you know, maximize the ASU strike or build their profile is you can take time to write a good review paper in your, maybe in your chosen field of interest. And that alone, you don't need any research. All you need to do is like a literature review. And before you know it, within 3-4 months, if you work with other folks that are also interested, you can get that published, right? You can also work with, maybe collaborate with people already in the United States, you know, to give that particular paper good quality and, you know, good reputation when you submit to journal. So you can get that published. If you have a review paper published already, 1 or 2 review paper published before you are done, that tells you that tells of your of your reputation. So it's something you can do to to build your profile too, because this is ASU strike. There's really nothing you can do with ASU strike. You can't proceed with your education. So, but you can do it to maybe just jump on that project and get it done while the strike lasts. Yeah. So I don't know if we have further questions.
Someone said, how much weight does work experience have in graduate school applications?
Oh,
How much weight?
Okay. Now, I think what the person should know is that it adds to your, to the strength of your application if you've worked in certain industries where, the skills you pick up, the experience and the exposure that you get, adds to, what you want to come and do in grad school. Let me give you an instance. Let's say you finished from a petroleum engineering program, right? And you want to go for, let's say, a PhD in petroleum engineering, and you've worked in Shell, ADAX, ExxonMobil, Chevron. Of course, those work experiences, they add to your, to the strength of your candidacy for a PhD in petroleum engineering, because those industries or the industry where those companies are in is quite relevant to that program, right? But let's say you are going for a petroleum engineering PhD program, and as a petroleum engineering graduate, you've worked in places like Microsoft, Google, and all of. So you're working in those many tech companies does not subtract from the strength of your candidacy, but does not make your application as strong as the person who has had relevant work experience. So what you want to look at is the relevance of that work experience, to the graduate program you're applying to. And that is because while they are considering that, oh yes, this person has, of course, picked up time management skills, leadership skills by managing a team in this particular work that the person did, maybe because you put that you were a project manager or product engineer in this and that. They also want to think that, oh, but was this work that the person did, was it relevant? Is it relevant to this particular program? If it is not a bad thing, okay? Because of course, leadership skills can still be applied somewhere else. It doesn't have to be, but then you want to consider that, oh, is it relevant? So if you've done so many things, you've worked in many places, and you're applying to a certain program, you might want to filter out places where you've worked where, the industries or what you did is not really relevant to the program that you're applying to. But if you've not had that much work experience, just put what you have and say what you did while you were working where you were working. It doesn't subtract. It's not, might not just be as forceful. That's the point I'm trying to make. I hope it helps.
Yeah, and another thing I want to add here is you can take a lot of online courses now during this ASU strike. Coursera is there for you. Take a lot of online courses related to your intended research. This is going to boost your CV instead of just watching Bollywood and all that. Use that time to develop yourself, to advance your career. You will not regret it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joy and Babatunde, for that answer. And I must tell you that we've had an awesome session so far with the information you've provided. In the absence of no further questions, I think it would be good to just wrap up the session at this point. I would like to thank everyone for joining this session. Thank you for participating, for the questions, and thank you, panelists, for answering these questions and for giving us this nice material. To know more about ANSA, you can go to www.ansaofficial.org. We have various materials there, and we also do well to upload these session, the recording of this session to our YouTube channel. So you can check us out on YouTube too, to reference this particular session. Yeah, thank you everyone, and should do it to have. If you have further questions, you can always reach out to us on the answer website. We'll do it to answer your questions. So yeah, thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.